Then being called to Franklin, Tennessee to go full-time as a writer-producer was the second part of that. And God took care of us. And not only did he take care of us, we saw amazing things that are unusual for people that just move here. And then a year and a half ago, we got a phone call. One of Kristen's blood tests came back, and she was diagnosed with cancer. And the world just stopped.
Welcome back to The Walk, where we explore the journey of faith step by step, song by song, and story by story. I'm your host, Joshua Swanson, and today's episode is a powerful one filled with faith, trust, and raw honesty. Our guest is Sam Hart, worship leader, songwriter, and music producer, who opens up about his journey of faith through some of life's most difficult trials. Sam's story is one of surrender, uncertainty, and ultimately a deeper trust in God. He shares the incredible testimony of his wife Kristen's battle with cancer, the unexpected ways God provided for their family, and the deeply personal lessons he's learned along the way. Before we dive in, we'd love for you to take a moment to like and share this podcast. If it speaks to you, consider subscribing and leaving a review. Honestly, your support helps us reach more people with these impactful stories, and it means so much to us. Thanks for being a part of our journey. And here's a quick note from our friends at Planning Center.
Listeners of The Walk, my name is Aaron. I'm the co-founder of Planning Center, and you've probably heard our name for a bit because we've been partnering with The Walk from the beginning. If you don't know, Planning Center is a set of software tools to help you organize information, coordinate events, communicate with your team, and connect with your congregation. We've been around planning worship for 19 years, but now we're way more than that and can organize your whole church. So to learn more, go to planningcenter.com.
Again, please check them out at planningcenter.com, and you will walk away a lot more organized and ready to serve your church. Okay, let's take a walk together with Sam Hart.
Well, thank you so much. What an honor to be with you, man. And so cool. I mean, you just gave me a little peek outside your window with the camera, and I got to see downtown Jerusalem and part of the old city. And man, I just feel like now even more, this is such a holy moment. So thank you so much just for this time with you. Always good to hang, bro. Yeah. Also, it's just interesting how God works, because as a young worship leader, I started leading worship in the early 2000s, kind of as a kid. Age 19, I got my first job as a worship leader. And even at that time, worship leader was such a resource to me, and built my own leadership, which was non-existent. It's funny at that time how pastors would, if you could sing and hold a tune and play guitar, you could get a job that paid as good as a school teacher or a cop with 0 degree, 0 experience. And even more than that, given a mic to speak about high and holy things that you have no idea about. And God's just so good and faithful to to use those 5 loaves and 2 fishes and build you into who he's designing you to be, and then also use you, week in, week out. It's so crazy. So anyways, just appreciate worship leader and the ways that you've poured into me and many, many others over the years, man. Yeah, so what I've been thinking about sharing is just how God is so close in the things that feel at times so dark, and he builds our faith, especially, talks about the eyes of the Lord go to and fro across the earth, seeking to strengthen those whose hearts are fully his. And so at an early age, I felt this inner awe and fear for the Lord. And with all the mistakes and the failures through starting in my teens and all the way through, it's funny, I've always felt this sense of as hard as I've tried at times to run or even not believe, for some reason there's something in me that always comes back to him. And I think the Lord honors that, and I've seen that in my own life and in my wife. My wife and I met when we were 15. We started dating at 17. We got married when she was 20 and I was 21. So this year will be 20 years of marriage. Until 5 years ago, The only life that she knew as a married adult, not living at home, was being married to a worship leader. Same with our 3 kids. We have 3 teenagers now, and they all grew up with dad on a platform every morning, driving to church with mom, not with me. And getting used to that weekly ritual of dad's gone from 6 in the morning until 1 or 2, and then nap time, and then he's got to go back to evening service, and then we'll see him tomorrow. Yes. And so we did that. And then about 5 years ago, we started feeling this stirring, and it was unmistakable to move to Franklin, Tennessee. I'd always, actually, before I was a worship leader, I was in a Christian hip hop group called Sackcloth Fashion and went on tour. And so that was kind of my introduction to the music industry. And because of that, came to Nashville, came to Franklin as an 18-year-old kid, 20-year-old kid, whatever, during that whole season, and never thought I'd live here. But Franklin has always kind of reappeared in my life. Even as a young boy, I remember reading my mom's vinyl record liner notes from all the gospel records she had. And I remember seeing Franklin, Tennessee in there, recorded at such and such in Franklin, Tennessee. You know, this artist is part of Benson Records, Franklin, Tennessee, whatever. And so throughout the years, it's kept reappearing. And then about 5 years ago, we felt like God was moving us here. Now, what's interesting, and I was kind of sharing with you, Joshua, is just that for all those times, 17 years or so in ministry, I feel like I grew as a leader, grew as a husband, grew as a dad in some ways, but never really had to trust God. And the first time I really had to trust him was leaving ministry. There was a little stint in there where I had to trust him for a little bit because I left a church that had gone really sideways. We quit with no backup plan. And that was the first time we didn't know what we were going to do. That was in 2017 or so. Then being called to Franklin, Tennessee to go full-time as a writer-producer was the second part of that. And man, that was crazy. Just moving here, no job, just, I guess I'm a producer now. And God took care of us. And not only did he take care of us, we saw amazing things that are unusual for people that just move here. Songs getting cut, publishing deals happening, favor in the industry. And then a year and a half ago, we got a phone call. One of Kristen's blood tests came back, and she was diagnosed with cancer. And the world just stopped.
When we come back, we'll hear more from Sam Hart.
Now, what's interesting is my wife's always had this solid faith since she was a little girl, ever since I've known her. She just believes simply. And so I remember her getting off of that phone call, and we're kind of stunned. And all of a sudden, my world is shaken. I'm disoriented. I'm angry. I'm thinking, wait, I thought God was good. And my wife, though, says, well, I trust him. He's going to heal me here or on the other side, but I know he's going to heal me. He's got me. And I was like, you're way more spiritual than I am. That's what I was thinking. And that began a few months of honestly just questioning God and questioning his goodness. And so 3 things that stuck out to me, and this is something I was thinking from this story that I'll share in a minute, of just 3 things that have been life-changing for me coming out of this. And I'll summarize really quick, just that Kristen ended up, so she was diagnosed with thyroid cancer. She had a surgery. They removed, apparently the cancer was in her thyroid and her neck area longer than they would have liked, like way longer than usual. And it was an aggressive form. And turns out she's one of the very small percentage of people on the planet that doesn't respond to iodine radiation treatment, which is the main kind of treatment plan for thyroid cancer, and usually, which is why it's if you're going to get cancer, as morbid as this sounds, it's like the kind you want to get, because usually it's very treatable, except she's one of those people that doesn't take the treatment very well. So she got the surgery. They removed the thyroid and a lot of the cancer. And then we began this trust journey of, then she couldn't go back to work. And so we became a single income family, in Williamson County, Tennessee, one of the most expensive places to live on the planet, with me in the music business. It's so unpredictable, but suddenly we had to trust God in that way. And long story short, she started just reading a lot about how to treat cancer God's way, about how to use food and lifestyle and healing from emotional trauma. And she has a whole story that someday she'll share, or I'll share, and you can follow her on Instagram, and she talks openly about it. But she's got some childhood abuse that she never really dealt with. And so during the course of this last year and a half, we went on this whole journey where she started getting really into integrative medicine, and even went to a clinic, which we couldn't afford. And yet God brought us the $50,000 through miraculous means for her to go. And she went, and I believe it saved her life. And that was this last fall when she went. And then God also used all that she was learning, and she shared through that channel. She has shared what she's going through and what God has done in her life and what she's learned about integrative medicine. And it's led to kind of a whole new path for her, a calling in integrative medicine. So her Instagram has blown up to like 200,000 followers. And now she's in integrative practitioner school, getting her certificate to do that. And that was all just a God thing. And, but going all the way back to the beginning, kind of the takeaway here that I wanted to share with you guys is three things. One, I learned that God welcomes our emotions, even the scary ones. And like I started to share, I instantly got angry at God. I instantly got scared about the future. I didn't know if I was going to have a wife in the future, especially after the surgery. The doctors had basically said, well, because you don't respond to this treatment, there's nothing really we can do. Like, we can't cure this. We can slow it down. Your options really are just chemo. And she had felt like just this strong feeling of, I don't want to do that. That's like the last resort. And so we were having crazy conversations last summer. Like, do we just put renters in our house and go on vacation and get as many great moments and memories as we can, because we don't know where this is headed? And so the first thing I started feeling was anger, sadness, rage, distrust of God, and a deep fear of the future. And I remember going on this walk, this early morning walk, and I've always been this way. Well, especially, I went another time. We'll talk about in 2016 how I went through a burnout, and it changed my faith. In that, coming out of that burnout, I had realized, the old way that I did that, my old devotional life wasn't working. It was very ritualistic and religious. And after God brought me back from this burnout, I started just going on these prayer walks and talking out loud. In fact, at the time, we lived in downtown Fresno, California, and it was kind of run by the Bulldog gangs, kind of a low income area, a lot of homeless. And so outside of our like 1922 bungalow that, a year before we bought it was just a dilapidated dump. And then all of a sudden, because it was in this like gentrified area, re-gentrifying area, it was worth something. And so it was kind of this area that young couples were moving to, but still you had people around our neighborhood just walking, talking to themselves, just like in their slippers, shuffling down the street, talking to themselves. And so I just started doing that too. I just started shuffling down the street in my slippers, talking out loud to myself, to God. And something about that made it more tangible. And so ever since, part of my life has just been this like regular talking to God out loud thing while I walk. And so fast forward to after this cancer diagnosis, I'm processing all these emotions. And this one day I'm walking and talking to the Lord, and I'm just it's kind of like Psalms. I'm just like saying all the stuff to him I would never say out loud. in front of people. And some of that was just like, God, you've always been who I run to, but I want to run from you. But it's confusing because I don't know where to go. Like, who else am I going to run to? Like, everything else feels scary and nothing, there's nothing there. And so I was just telling him my emotions, and I felt like he was just like, good, tell me more, open up to me. And so in Psalms 51, it says that my sacrifice, O God, is a broken spirit, a broken and contrite heart. And that you, God, you will not despise. And so I started feeling that, where it was just like he was like welcoming my broken and contrite heart. Also, we know this, Psalm 52, we've heard it before. Psalm 55, it says, cast your cares on the Lord and he will sustain you. He will never let the righteous be forsaken. And we've all heard in 1 Peter 5, cast your anxieties on him because he cares for you. And so that's the first thing that I started to realize is it's okay that I'm scared. It's okay that I'm angry. It's okay that I don't trust God. It's okay that I feel like he pulled a 1-2 punch on us. He never promised me anything else. He's here. He's there. He welcomes me. I can feel these things. And that's been huge. The second thing that I learned in that first part of her diagnosis was it forced me to face the fact that I don't control nearly as much as I think I do. And I think a lot of us feel that way. Like, and I'm learning this, like much of life is answering the question, what is mine to control and what is God's to control? And the part that's mine to control is very small compared to what I've always thought. I'm coming to find. Like, really, I can control momentary decisions. I can set things on a certain path, but I don't know the outcome. I can control my own responses to other people. I can control my own emotion. I'm responsible for my emotions and my words, my actions, but I can't control others. I can't control the good or bad things that are going to happen. And that was a huge, huge thing for me to start to realize. And that's where my anger came from. It's just like mad that life is out of control suddenly. And those two things were huge for me. But I think that what this means for us, for worship leaders, creatives, for just Christians, is it doesn't mean we just quit trying. I think what has started to happen to me after facing some of this control stuff is realizing, yeah, I don't control what happens to my wife or me or our health or the future. I don't control when we live or die. I can't control the outcomes of business or the music industry or all these. I mean, it starts to just blossom into all the things I can't control. But it's starting to feel to me more like, as I trust God with that he is in control, it's more like I get to have fun with him and leave the outcomes to him. I get to have fun with him. I get to play in the sandboxes he gives me with him, inviting him into every step, inviting him into the journey of it. And so that's been a huge, huge lesson that's come out of this. And then the third lesson of faith, I would say, that I learned from this is that I am not my family's provider. I'm definitely not the primary provider for my family. God is. And man, we saw that time and time again right away. I mean, all the way from after her surgery, like I mentioned, she couldn't go back to work, and we became a music business, single income family. And God provided somehow. I don't understand it. With the medical expenses and all that stuff, our expenses actually almost doubled and sometimes did. Our monthly income somehow got much larger, and yet God paid those bills every month. I saw that in a way that when I was in, a worship leader, in some ways it felt, and some worship leaders might, be able to relate to this. It felt a little bit like I could control life more. And like, that check would come on the 1st and the 15th, and, I could do nothing. I could just hang out with volunteers and go through a John Piper book or whatever, and that money would still just show up. And same with benefits. Like, we just had great benefits, whatever. didn't take much trust. I mean, if I'm honest, all of a sudden it became a give us this day our daily bread thing. And I watched God do it. I watched God do it. And even just that, like I mentioned, going to that clinic in Mexico, the integrative health clinic, which I believe saved my wife's life. It's a place that kind of connects Western medicine with holistic medicine. And it also has a lot of innovative stuff, like, putting light into your veins to clean your blood through IVs, and just all kinds of crazy things I didn't even know existed until this. And Kristen really felt like God was calling her to go to that. And at some point last summer, she mentioned that to me, but it's something that insurance didn't cover. $50,000 to go. We didn't have an extra $50,000. So we started just praying and just saying, God, if you want her to go to that, you need to bring us $50,000. And within weeks, every cent of that $50,000 showed up. I can't explain it. I just know that He is our family's provider, and I am not. All we did was show up and go to work and pray, and God somehow pulled all of that off. And so 3 lessons I learned were those things. God welcomes our emotions, all of them, not just the happy worship leader-y ones, the scary, sad, angry ones. And we can bring them to Him without Him turning away. In fact, He welcomes them. And then 2, I don't control nearly as much as I think I do. And then 3, I'm not primarily my family's provider. He is. And so I hope that encourages you guys today. Yeah, so some of you might be wondering, how is your wife doing now? And, a few months ago, she had a PET scan that showed a lot of activity lit up, lymph nodes and tumor activity. And then she went to Mexico. And then recently, we needed a follow-up PET scan. She got one. We were nervous to get the report and the comparison to the previous PET scan. And especially since we were trying to trust God and do this in a non-conventional way. And we get to the doctor's. He says, all right, looked at your PET scan. I don't know how to explain it, but before it was all lit up, now this PET scan, there's no lymph nodes lit up. There's no tumor activity. I don't see anything. I don't know what to say. Your PET scan looks clear. And so he said, all I can tell you is it's all clear. And we were just stunned. We were not expecting that. And he said, I even pulled in my head of radiology to weigh in on it too. And he said, he says the same thing. It just went away. So he said, you're not in remission officially. You're not cured. Let's keep watching this. But he said, a few weeks ago, you did need surgery, and now you don't. Let's just keep an eye on it. And so we left that place, man. This was only a few weeks ago. We left that place just dancing and leaping and praising the Lord and stunned. But God is good. And so as faithful as He is to show us these lessons and turn lemons into lemonade. And I mean, some of you, if you're interested in following my wife's story, you should go follow her on Instagram and watch what God's doing, because it's incredible to see how He is healing lifelong traumas and things like that through this cancer journey. And she's talked about it, and she's told me this is the best thing that ever happened to me. So not only is He doing amazing things in me, He's doing amazing things in her. But it's so incredible, though, then to see God's healing power in it as well, which doesn't always happen, doesn't have to happen, but He's so kind and He's so good to us. So anyways, I would love to just leave it there and pray for you guys. Just wanted to share just a little bit of our last couple of years, and hope that there's something there that God could speak into your life and encourage you with. Maybe you're going through an amazing time, but we all have seasons where we feel lost, hopeless, angry, and struggle. And so maybe you're going through that season now. And if you are, I hope God can speak some hope and encouragement into you through this. Let me pray for you. Father God, thank you so much for your faithfulness, for how you take the valleys and the dark nights and you turn them into a sunrise. You turn them into mountaintops. Sometimes it's not the way we would have asked for. Sometimes it's not the way we would have done it. And yet you're doing something bigger. You're telling a bigger story, and we get to have a place in it. God, for my friends listening to this now, I pray that they would sense an opportunity to just trust you with more. Trust you not just with the good days, but the bad days. Trust you not just with the things they know and are feeling solid about, but also the questions. Trust you with the doubts. Trust you with the anger. God, also that they would give up control. Help us to give you control. You don't need our permission. You're already sovereign. You're already Lord of the universe. And yet sometimes we try to take that role. And I pray that you would help us to give that to you. And then, Lord, help us to find peace in the fact that you are our provider, that you are good. You don't just create home and food for the birds of the air, and you don't just clothe the meadows like a king, but you also care about us as your children, and you provide. You will take care of us. And for those of us that feel like for lots of reasons, we can sometimes feel like it's all up to us, that we have to meet our own needs. And God, help us to give that over to you more and more. In Jesus' name, amen.
Wow. Thank you, Sam, for sharing some of your story. And thank you for your vulnerability and for showing us that God doesn't turn away from our anger, our fear, or our doubts. He welcomes them. We'll close out this episode with a song that Sam recently produced and mixed called You'll Never Walk Alone, and it features Dolly Parton. If this episode resonated with you, I encourage you to share it with a friend who needs a reminder of God's faithfulness. And don't forget to subscribe to The Walk for more inspiring devotionals. You can find out more about us at worshipleader.com. Also, if you want to follow along with Kristen's journey or Sam's journey and see how God is continuing to move in their life, be sure to check out the links in the show notes. We've linked out to their Instagram profiles. Okay, until next time, a big thank you to the team at Life Audio for their incredible partnership. Be sure to visit lifeaudio.com, where you'll find a wide variety of faith-centered podcasts covering topics like health and wellness, parenting, cultural issues, Bible teachings, and so much more. Take a moment to explore all they have to offer at lifeaudio.com. It's been a pleasure having you with us. We'll see you next time on The Walk. Here's You'll Never Walk Alone, featuring Dolly Parton and mixed by Sam Hart.
When you walk through a storm, hold your head up high, and don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of the storm, there's a golden sky and the sweet silver song of a lark. Walk on through the wind, walk on through the rain, though your dreams be tossed and blown. Walk on, with hope in your heart, and you'll never walk alone.
Life Audio.